For the past several weeks on this show, we've had the opportunity to interview successful chiropractors talking about their keys of success, things they've done and used to make their practices wildly successful over the years. And I promise next week we'll continue with some of those fantastic interviews, one doc at a time, every week for as many weeks as possible this year. But this week, we need to pause. We need to pause because we've been hearing what these doctors have been thinking, have been doing, have been creating. And my question is, are you up for the challenge to be successful also? And that's the question that we're going to answer in this podcast. Welcome to another episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I've been in practice for over 30 years, and I continue to work in a $1 million practice that I built, ran, and sold. I've taught, lectured, and coached our profession, and helped so many chiropractors build the practice and the life of their dreams. And now, I want to help you do the same. So here's today's show. Over the last 60-odd episodes, we've gone through systems and procedures, step-by-step things you can do to build your practice, to make it bigger, better, so you can have the practice of your dreams. Some of you have listened and had huge success. Some of you have listened and had moderate success. And some people have listened and still seen no change in their practice. Now, how is that possible? How is it that two doctors practicing in the same community, having the same exposure to people, so the same patient opportunities, are getting incredibly different results in practice? Is it what they're saying in the report of findings? Is it what they're saying when they're in the adjusting room by the adjusting table? Is it the staff that they've hired and trained? Well, in part, yes. But that's not the biggest piece. The biggest piece that makes the biggest difference is not what comes out of your mouth. It's what's going on in the space between your ears. Because as a famous chiropractor has said many, many times, the 5 most important words are, it's all in your head. If you think practice is difficult, it is. If you think practice is easy and wildly successful, it is. In fact, he goes on to say that everything is only as difficult as you need it to be. When something should be easy for you, and it is, it's because you know it is and it should be. And when something's difficult for you, it's because for some reason, deep down, you need it to be difficult. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. A lot of people don't believe that, but if you really stop and dig down and think about it, you know it's really true. So the big question becomes, how do you turn your mind around to make things easy, to make everything easy? Well, almost everything. How do you possibly go through life with effortless ease, having fantastic results, great relationships, phenomenal business? It's all in your head. That's where it all starts, and that's where it all finishes. Because what it really comes down to is, how have you trained your mind? Have you trained your mind that when you say something, when you decide something, when you set a goal, that you will not rest until you have accomplished it? Or do you say you're going to do things and then eventually let yourself off the hook, decide that's close enough, that's good enough, that's all I really need to do, without ever accomplishing it? And maybe that's just fine, whatever the thing we're talking about. Maybe that's just fine for the people around you. But the problem with it is that your subconscious, that really, really self deep down inside, knows you let yourself off the hook. And when your deep down inside self-conscious knows that you'll let yourself off the hook, it's easy to promise yourself anything when deep down inside you know Well, I'll do it for a while and then I'll just give up on it. Whatever it may be. Maybe it's being at a certain weight, gaining weight or losing weight. Maybe it's building a certain body. Maybe it's getting good at a certain skill. Maybe it's building the business of your dreams. Maybe it's having the relationship of your lifetime with a spouse. Maybe it's the way that you and your children interact or grandchildren interact. But that measure is up to you because it's all in your head. But if you've been doing this all your life, letting yourself off the hook after you've made a promise, how do you possibly begin to change that if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s? Start really small. Start with something that you can commit to, and you promise yourself for X amount of time, I'm going to do this. Don't start with a big audacious goal and say, I'll do that forever. Because frankly, it's too easy to fail. I'm not saying it's impossible, but at some point, your subconscious is barking at you saying, aren't you going to quit this yet? You've done this long enough. It's time for you to give this up. You quit everything. That's not the self-talk that you want to be listening to. The self-talk that you want to begin to cultivate and create to become a booming, loud voice in your head is, yeah, you remember when I said I was going to do that? And I did it. So now I can do this too. Whatever that is. And build up. For some people, it's something as simple as, I'm going to quit smoking for 1 day. Okay, did you do that? Yeah, I did that. Okay. You know what? That was so successful. I'm going to quit smoking for 2 days if you're a smoker, and that's what you want to do because you know it's better for your health. And you say, people tell me that all the time. I'm just not ready to quit. And that's a decision. But if you've made the decision to start carrying out these things, maybe it's something as simple as a to-do list of things you're going to take care of tomorrow. Make the list today, do it tomorrow, and you get to the end of the day, and don't stop until you've completed that list. Because again, you're training your brain, you're training that subconscious that runs deep down inside, tapping you on your shoulder, either giving you positive feedback or negative feedback. See, I knew you couldn't do that. Good for you, good for me, good for us. We got that done. Yeah. And then when we take on the next project, it builds even more confidence. And why is that? Because success is contagious. The more you do it, the more you have it, the more you want it, the more you take on, and the more you accomplish. And it just keeps growing. Bigger and bigger, accomplishing more and more. Maybe you're currently seeing 20 patient visits a week, and you want to double your practice to 40 patient visits a week. Suddenly 40 becomes 60, becomes 80, becomes 100, becomes 200, and you keep growing. And at some point, you keep setting that goal, and then finally you say, I'm where I want to be. I'm going to hold this and do something else also. Sometimes it's called the spinning plate analogy. You get one plate spinning and it's going really, really well and really, really fast. In fact, it's spinning so well, you can leave and ignore that plate for just a little bit to go and start to work on the next plate and get it up and spinning. And as you get that one spinning, that first one might need a little bit more attention. And then you go back to the second one. And then you get really, really good at doing these two things incredibly successfully. And as you get good at doing those two incredibly successfully, guess what? You can add a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, as many things as you choose to take on. As long as you're confidently paying attention to them when they need to be paid attention to, because you've learned the success philosophy, the success principle of how to not lie to yourself, how to tell yourself the truth, and hold yourself accountable. And it's worth repeating to start small. Start with something relatively easy and simple, Not a no-brainer, but something that you work to accomplish, whether it's for an hour, a day, or a week, a couple days, maybe a month. But it's so incredibly important that you actually finish it, follow through, and accomplish it. Plant that seed of success and accomplishment, and then plant another one with it, and another, and another, and the forest of success grows. And then you know that you do absolutely accomplish whatever it is you set your mind to. There's no question about it. That's your proven track record. And you know what? I know you can do it. And I know you can do it not just because that's a cliche, because I've seen so many people take this on and become wildly successful. There was a time in my life that I didn't follow through. I was sitting in a seminar years and years ago, and the presenter made a comment of, how long are you going to procrastinate and not finish those reports that are on your desk? And he made a joke about the reports looking like the twin towers of paper on a person's desk that never go away. And it was in that seminar that I decided I hated the procrastination. I hated it so much because it dogged me all the time. And I said to myself, I'm going to clear my desk. And sure enough, I went home from the seminar and I sat there after seeing patients the next day. And I was late getting home that night, but I cleared the desk. Okay, I didn't have the twin towers of paperwork to get done, but I told myself I would do it. That presenter made me promise to me that I would do it, as I'm asking you to promise to yourself as well as to me. Set the goal, do it, and accomplish it. Because every time after that anything came up, I thought about that, and it reminded me of that day. I did that. I know I can do this too. I know I can do this too. With the same confidence that you took on the first goal, you can take on the next, and the next, and the next. And as I've been interviewing more and more people for our Season 2 episodes, 3 Keys of My Success, I hear over and over again that success is a decision. They decided to step up and handle it. What is it? Whatever their holdback was, the thing that was slowing them down. And everybody has different ones. Some of the themes repeat themselves in a chiropractic practice, but there's no one simple answer except do it. Like Nike likes to say, just do it. Step up. Get it done. If it doesn't work, find somebody to help you get it done. Because in our profession, there is no shortage of people who have accomplished absolutely magnificent things. And you can be one of those people too. So many of the listeners of this podcast are already wildly successful, and yet they still listen. Why? Because they're constantly learning. They're constantly feeding their brains with more and more information about being successful, staying successful, listening for new ideas. And I say to those people, kudos, congratulations, and I love having you as part of the listenership. And then I know there's people who aren't as successful as they want to be yet, and it's all here. But let's say for a minute, you promise yourself something. You decide on something. I'm going to accomplish that. And it turns out that for some reason, you couldn't get that done in the amount of time that you gave yourself to get it done in. Well, I have 2 thoughts on that. Let's say you only got 80% of it done. Well, okay. Did you finish it? No. But you still got 80% of it done. That's pretty darn good. What you learned is you couldn't get as much done as quickly as you thought. That time, but maybe next time you can. Reset the goal and do it again. And if you didn't get close at all, then it's time for a little bit of guidance. As I said, there's no reason to reinvent the wheel because business takes time and money. And we don't want to waste either one of those. We don't want to waste our time, and we certainly don't want to waste our money or the business's money. So find someone who's doing it successfully, have them coach you, have them mentor you, have them run scripts with you, have them run scenarios with you, whatever it takes. You, your team, them, their team. Maybe it's a little communal powwow with a couple chiropractic offices to mastermind together. There is an answer here. And the answer is, it's not okay to procrastinate any longer. It's about stepping up and you deciding to absolutely be the best version of you every single day, every opportunity there is. And as you do that, what you'll find is you're going to feel better about yourself. People are going to look at you differently. More importantly, they're going to react to you differently because they know when you say something, that's exactly what you mean. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's how it is. They can take it at face value. They can like it or not like it, but that's the way that it is. In fact, every successful person that I know can point to a time, a place, or a specific event where they decided, they realized, this just isn't okay anymore. And if you haven't been there yet, I'm going to urge you, push yourself to that limit, push yourself to that line to where you turn around and say, I'm not backing up anymore. I'm now going to take the challenge head on and truly become successful. Because everybody can be successful. I don't believe that God makes mistakes, and I don't believe that God sponsors failures, and I know that every single person listening to this podcast has been endowed by the Creator, by the creative force in the universe, whether you want to call it God, innate intelligence, universal intelligence, whatever the superpower that you happen to believe in, to be your best. You've been granted the education to be a chiropractor and change lives. Why not change as many lives as you possibly can and help make the world a better place? Because it all starts in your head. Make that decision. Be the success that you know you can be, that your significant other knows you can be, needs you to be, and the person that your family needs you to be. Step up and become, one step at a time, bigger, better, and wildly successful. And if you've made that decision that you're going to be wildly successful, then I'm going to challenge you right now to copy the link for this show and send it to at least 2 other chiropractors to help them become more successful also. I don't care if it's this episode or one of the 60 other episodes that are already out there. But if you've decided, you've made the decision, it's time for you to step up and be more successful, here's the first thing you can do. Help somebody else also. All right, and that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at fortheloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.